In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how much money you need to have to buy a rental property. We're going to look at upfront cost, monthly expenses, then we're going to look at what really bites investors in the butt, and those are the unexpected expenses. Now, we're going to be breaking down this property as if it were a $250,000, almost a turnkey deal, and then I'm going to really show you what you can do to bring the cost down so the property will cash flow, so the property will be a good one for you. But if we're just looking at it in today's market, this is a lot of what investors are seeing right now. So let's dive right into it. So what are the upfront costs? Well, if it's a $250,000 house, 20% down is going to be $50,000. We know that. So you're going to have this $50,000. Closing cost, you know, this can be negotiated. Now, we always negotiated closing costs when we were buying houses. We were paying cash. Honestly, because we were buying at such a deep discount, we were paying all the closing costs, which was very attractive to people. But that's not typically the way it is. You might want to split some of this, but it can be negotiated. But if we were just going to say the assumption of 3% would be around $7,500. And then you have inspection costs like a general inspection, pest, sewer inspection, if you were doing all those. Then an appraisal fee. This one, just the inspection cost is really, really important for newer investors because they're going to find things that you're then going to have to determine, is this something I want to take on? I have a buddy who loves to find properties that have foundation issues because he knows that 95% of the people out there are not going to touch those. So he can buy those at a deeper discount. But you may not feel comfortable taking on a foundation problem house because you're like, well, how much is this going to cost? Because it's a wide range, could be $5,000 to $25,000. And so just getting that inspection is going to give you a little bit of a peace of mind as to what you can see around what you're going to need to be doing from a renovation standpoint. But again, this is almost a turnkey property. So these are some of the upfront costs. More upfront costs. Well, if we were just assuming around a $10,000 for minor upgrades and repairs. So what does $10,000 get you? Honestly, it doesn't get you all that much today. It does. I mean, we're talking about maybe interior paint, flooring. It's going to get flooring. It's going to do a little bit more work than that, but it's not, 10,000 is not going to do a bunch. I mean, you may get some more landscaping and some stuff, but man, I'm telling you, $10,000 goes by fast. So if you had a small renovation, if it was not exactly rent ready, now this is not super retail selling on the retail market. This is rental grade. Still, $10,000 is not a lot of money these days. It's rare unless you're buying it from a turnkey company that has it fully decked out and fully rented. But even then, you have to be careful. But then you've got insurance. If this property were in Birmingham, Alabama, let's just say landlord insurance, $1,200 a year. Property taxes, all property taxes is going to be a little bit different. And remember that you're also going to be paying non-homestead taxes, right? So this is not your primary residence. And so different municipalities are going to treat that differently. Some of them double the taxes. It just really depends. And so you need to look into that because that's going to impact your cash flow. And then at closing, let's just say you're going to pay prorated taxes of 6 months if you were buying it in the middle of the year, whatever the case is. So these are some of the upfront costs that you've got. And then so total upfront costs, $50,000, $7,500 in closing costs, inspection, appraisal, repairs, and renovations. I'm going to put a big question mark here. If you have renovations to do, insurance, first year, prorated property taxes total, $70,362. Man, yeah, I don't know. That's a good amount of money. So you need to understand this going into these properties that there's going to be money up front. Now, maybe you've saved this money. You've set this aside. You have this in your savings. And so that's the way you're going to do this. Maybe you're using a HELOC. Maybe you've got a partnership where you're using somebody else's money. You're putting in all the sweat equity. They're going to put in the cash up front. These are the things you need to know and to be able to put down on a spreadsheet. We actually have a cash flow calculator The link is below this video. You can check that out because it will help you determine what you need to be prepared for, really on an ongoing basis. But looking at all this is so very important, especially if you've got a JV deal where you're doing a joint venture and you're putting in the sweat equity. I just want to tell you, you want to gain confidence from an investor, then you need to have all of these items listed out. So now let's move on to recurring costs. Look at these. You've got mortgage payment, right? So if it was 6.5%, I know interest rates today are a little bit more than that, but at 30-year, we're talking about, loan on $200,000 because you had that $50,000 down. Annual cost $15,168. Again, property taxes. Again, insurance on an ongoing, recurring annual basis. Then what else do you have? Well, if you're using a property management company like our company, we offer property management. And if the rent was $2,000 a month, we're going to charge 10%. It's $2,000. It's going to be $200 a month. Annual total is $2,400, so you need to factor that into your fees. You also need to factor one thing I didn't put in here would be a leasing fee, which is just, some people call it a lease up fee. It's really the upfront cost to go out and find the resident, screen the resident, and put the best resident in your property. Most all property management companies charge somewhere between 50% and 100% of the first month's rent. That's a lease up fee. So you would need to do, that's not going to happen every year, but it is going to be a one-time fee. And usually the property management company will charge that, will take that out of the resident's first month rent. So they don't charge you up front. They wait till the property's rented and the resident pays rent, and then they take that out. That's what we do. Then you're going to have maintenance and repair. Well, what if you just set aside 1% of the property value? That would be $2,500. Now, again, if you've just renovated this property, and then more than likely you're not going to be spending this money unless something strange happens. More than likely, if you're buying a good turnkey property or you've turned it into a turnkey property, you're going to be good for probably, I would say, 12 to 24 months. There are going to be some minor repairs, but probably nothing major. We still recommend that you put this money aside. And then vacancy reserve, like there is going to be vacancy at some point. Now, we understand that the only way investors make money is to keep residents long-term. Yes, you will have some deferred maintenance down the road if you kept somebody in your property for 5 years, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than having a vacancy every 12 months. That will completely destroy any kind of returns that you're getting on this property, if you are getting returns. So total recurring costs annually comes up to $24,293. And we've already said that rent's going to be $2,000. If we're saying it's around $2,000 a month, maybe you get more than that. Maybe you get a little bit less than that. That's $24,000 a year. So we know that, man, things are tight. When you're buying a turnkey property or a property that's close to being turnkey, it is tight. And so one of the ways that you can increase your chances of having better cash flow on properties is to be more patient, take your time, and find properties at below market value. This is what I've done, and a lot of my friends, a lot of the peers, a lot of people we've interviewed over the years on our podcast, the Evernest Real Estate Investor Podcast. Like, we have interviewed so many people, and the best ones are finding deals. Even in these markets, they're finding motivated sellers. There are motivated sellers. You just have to be more patient. You have to be diligent, and you have to have a long-term, disciplined mindset to find them and to wait until you find the right property for you. But let's go on to the unexpected costs. These are the things that most people don't think about. What about emergency repairs? I just think you should be saving some money for emergency repairs if something happens. It's just insane. When you own enough rental property, there's always something going on. There's always something going on. Just never ceases to amaze me when I think, hey, I've got everything buttoned up and everything's just right. Then something else happens and it's like, oh my goodness gracious. So I would put aside money. Hey, if you don't use it, fantastic. You know what? If I were putting aside emergency repair money and didn't use it, then I would probably drop it down here to the CapEx expenditure, which is going to be your bigger ticket items, things like HVAC, hot water heater, roofs. These are big ticket items that are going to have to be replaced at some point in the life cycle of that property. And again, we're going to say, hey, what if you save $2,500? What if you save 1% of the property value? Now, if you want to know the truth about everything from dealing with tens and tens of thousands of investors, most people are not this conservative with their numbers. Most people are torturing spreadsheets so that they can make a deal work. And I get it. I've done it. I just want to encourage you, though, don't always torture the spreadsheet. Let the spreadsheet work for you to help you make wise decisions because, again, what you really want to do is you want to buy as low as you can. And you know what? You can come back. You can run all these numbers before you bought. Let's just say this property was on the table. Let's say a turnkey company was trying to sell you this property at $250,000 and you knew it could rent for $2,000 or it was already rented for $2,000. You were running the numbers. You can use that as a negotiating tool and say, hey, listen, I can't pay this for it because look at the numbers. It's not going to cash flow exactly the way I want it to. And so therefore, it's not really a great deal. And then let them make the decision, okay? And you like... Success in real estate a lot of times comes down to what you say no to, not what you say yes to. It's really the elimination of all the bad deals. We were only, at the peak of our buying, we were only buying 4% of deals that came across our table. 4%. That means we said no to 96% of deals because guess what? They didn't work. So I want to encourage you, be careful what you buy. So here's the summary: $250,000 property, upfront cost, recurring annual cost, reserve that you want to set aside once a year, $3,500. So you make the decision. I just want to give you some really good insight, some strong insight into what it really looks like to buy maybe a turnkey property or something close to turnkey in today's market. And listen, again, we have a cash flow calculator below. If you want to learn more about we have off-market deals, I'd encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, sign up for our community. We are going to be giving investors who are part of our community, who are part of our newsletter, first look at off-market deals. These are deals that are going to be below market value. Yes, work is going to have to be done to those, but we can handle that. We do renovations, we do management, we find residents, we place residents, we manage them, we do renovations, everything. So if you want to be a part of that, go ahead. Links are below. We look forward to producing more investor-friendly content just like this. So stick around, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.